Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about Gods of the Fall and my review specifically of the world itself of Gods of the Fall, which is called the Afterworld. This is my review of the setting elements of Gods of the Fall. Okay, so what is Gods of the Fall? Quickly, Gods of the Fall is a Cypher system rules setting. So it is a world created for the Cypher system rules. Cypher system rules created by Monty Cook. Gods of the Fall specifically, it was written by Bruce R. Cordell. It is 193 pages, and of course that attaches to the 300-page Cypher system rules. And then it is the first edition that I am reviewing. There's only one edition of the game so far, and it was published in 2016 by Monty Cook Games, and its cartographer is Jared Blando. All right, so I want to talk about the world of Gods of the Fall. Talk about its construction and my review of that construction and of the story elements itself. All right, so the world of Gods of the Fall is called the Afterworld. The Afterworld is made up of three core segments, three realms, okay? The first is the Nightland, the second is the RuneScape, and the third is the Soul Rest, okay? So, I'm actually going to jump right in, and I really think that the world itself is very well crafted. And I think as I start to talk through this a bit, you'll see that there's a lot of time and work and energy making this world cohesive. Okay, and before I even get started, I do want to talk a little bit about the world itself. The world itself is quite coherent. It's well crafted. It's very professionally done, right? Monty Cook Games is one of the Fizzy 5. They're one of the 5 companies that have 5 U.S.-based tabletop role-playing games companies that have a physical building where men and women put on their pants in the morning, drink their coffee, and go create tabletop role-playing games. They have benefits, things like that, like what you would see with the structure of a normal business that made widgets or anything normal, right? Or even really not game-based, right? So it's kind of interesting. All right, so it really is a very well-crafted world. All right, so let's talk about it. I'm going to talk about Afterworld. So everything I talk about within this section is specific to the Afterworld itself and really kind of arches above the Nightland, the RuneScape, and the Soul Rest. And you could find any and all of these in those places at different times, but their origin aren't coming from any one of those one sources. So let's talk about the Afterworld itself. The Afterworld itself is described within the game as being filled with cruelty and hopelessness. All right. Within there, you'll find ciphers. Right. So ciphers are Elehentar shards. They're actually shards of Elehentar itself. So Elehentar was formerly the home of the gods. It fell and smashed into the world, and now it is the Afterworld. Right. So So ciphers are actually shards of the world of Elehentar itself, the world of the gods, before it fell to the world and shattered, and the whole world became the Afterworld, right? Okay, essentially each cipher will give you a small miracle, essentially. Within the Afterworld, you also find artifacts, right? And artifacts are essentially magic items, okay? So, and also ciphers are kind of they're one use, whereas an artifact would continue to be, once a cipher is used, generally it's used up and it can't be used again. So they're like temporary one-shot miracles, right? Whereas artifacts are magical items that will continue to function even afterwards, okay? When you'll find all of those. And generally the player character types, those 4 primary character types within Gods of the Fall use both ciphers and artifacts, and those 4 character types are, of course, Shaper, Destroyer, Savior, and Champion. All right, so basically, also within Afterworld, you'll find New Atheism. These are people. Everybody who adheres to New Atheism is people who they no longer have any hope in the gods. And they believe that the gods will never return, or actually they have no hope in the gods returning, and they believe if the gods return, those gods will really be irrelevant. Their return will not matter, okay? All right. Also within the afterworld, you'll find seraphs. Seraphs are constructs. They're animated by divine grace, right? There is money within the afterworld. And again, this arches over the Night's Land, the RuneScape, and the Soul Rest. And that money is silver coins, silver coins, which are called moons, gold coins, which are called stars, and pennies, which are copper, okay? By the way, this is one of the things I didn't like very much. I think using the term penny in a TRPG, especially one that's not set in a modern day, and using the term penny just seemed anachronistic and odd. And so I didn't really like that much. You will see you'll also see within the afterworld delirium. Delirium are wandering storms that kill minds, right? Kind of interesting. Also, the term within the afterworld, the term dragon refers to a very ambitious, powerful sorcerer. Okay, one of the things that was interesting in this is like you kind of got the idea that most dragons are evil, but I think overall the entire Monte Cook games, every single Monte Cook games, it's gonna be pretty rare that you find the word evil. I'm not sure that within the Monte Cook games sphere, the term evil is really used much or given much weight, or really that anyone there at that company really feels that word has much freight. I could be wrong on that, but that's just my take as I'm reading through their content, right? Okay, so also in the afterworld, you'll find chapter houses. Chapter houses are chapels that are converted to secular monasteries where philosophy is taught, and then sometimes martial arts are also taught. I love chapter houses. I think this is one of the coolest things in the game. It's really quite interesting aspect, and has a little bit of that, it has a monastery feel. It feels a little like the old Kung Fu show where, Kung Fu in the West kind of element. It was really interesting. I liked it a lot. Also within the afterworld, you'll find the Book of Fate. The Book of Fate contains the 7 prophecies. The PCs, who play gods, they understand these prophecies better and better as they awaken, as they reveal their divine abilities and reveal their own divine histories. Okay? Alright, so that's pretty much the afterworld. So now the afterworld is again constructed of the Nightland, the RuneScape, and the Soul Rest. Alright, so let's talk about them. Let's talk about the Nightland. So the Nightland is the most normal of all the worlds. It's where people would be most likely to live. Okay, human beings within. There's essentially 3 primary races within the afterworld. These are the player character races, and those are the humans, the Sleens, and the Terrans. Right, and but most of those, and certainly most of the humans, live in the Nightland. Okay. Now, the Nightland is called the Nightland because of Nod. So Nod is the moon within the afterworld, and it actually came up when the afterworld was created. And Nod is this moon that perfectly blocks Avi, which is the sun. So essentially, the Nightland is kept in night, essentially arbitrarily by this creation of this Nod moon, which always keeps the world in night. Okay? Now, how do humans live in a world it's always night, right? Well, the way they do that is, how would you grow plants, right? Well, this is an aspect I absolutely loved about the Nightland. I really like the Nightland. I think it's probably, the Nightland, the RuneScape, the Soul Rest, they're all quite unique and really interesting. Let's stay on target here. The Nightland, all right, so they have these things called golden bowers, and golden bowers are where they grow crops under lamplight, right? So they have to grow crops under lamps that approximate the sun. I thought that was awesome. So in a world where you never see the sun, they grow crops in these things called golden bowers. Golden bowers is one of my favorite things in all of Gods of the Fall. So let's talk a little bit more about the Nightland itself. So within the Nightland, you will find the Guild of Sleep. And these are sorcerers that deal directly with dream magic. Okay, there are multiple cities within the Nightland. Let's talk about those cities. So the city of Meharagan, that is where the Thieves Guild has its headquarters. Okay, The city of Corso. The city of Corso in the Nightlands is a gigantic metropolis, and they sell indulgences. This is one of the things I did not super like about Gods of the Fall. Gods of the Fall is trying to create a tabletop role-playing game where players are having player characters who are gods. This is an incredibly difficult task. It's been tried multiple times. I'm not sure it can even be done. Every single, it's almost like, it's just like a holy grail, being able to make this correctly. But here, so the selling of indulgences is a major event within the Catholic Church, right? It's pretty much what created the Protestant movement, right? It was the impetus that, for Luther to nail his little thing on the wall or on the door, his theses, and so to have it in the game is really specific, right? And so a city where you can buy indulgences, I thought this just kind of brushed a little too close to some real world religions, and that's a real sore spot, I think, for most Catholics. They certainly, I don't think they sell indulgences today, and they would really like that to be forgotten. And so it was just kind of odd to see it here, right? The city of Chrysarik, right? Again in Nightlands. It is the home to the reanimated. This is a really cool city. These are people who have chosen to be undead or undying, right? They make that choice and they make that themselves that. It contains the Tranquil, which is the Assassin's Guild, right? So that's another thing you'll find in Chrysarik. The city Hornscar you will also find in the Nightland. It is homed to people who are physically scarred and have been physically changed by magic. So kind of like deformed people in many ways. There, in that city of Hornscar, you will find the Tower of Veracocho, right? And that is dedicated to the dead god of magic. This is also kind of really strange too, like that there would be a god of magic. Like it seems like magic would be a source that would be shared across multiple groups, and so to have the idea of one god that previously represented all of magic seems, again, like it just seems like it doesn't quite fit. It seems like a square peg round hole to me. The Tower of Reconciliation is also in the Nightland. This is the palace of Nul Mariel. Nul Mariel is the empress of the Nightland. She's an empress sorcerer who declared herself empress of the Nightlands. She's the most powerful of all. She also leads the Reconciliators. The Reconciliators are probably one of the most dangerous things to the player characters in this game. They are dedicated to stamping out the vestiges of old gods and the rise of any new gods, right? So these are going to be your stormtroopers. The most equivalent from Star Wars would be stormtroopers, right? And they're led by Nul Mariel. Okay, all right. So that's the Nightland. That's the structure of the Nightland. It's really well crafted, like realm within Gods of the Fall. Very well crafted. I absolutely love those golden bowers. I think that's a killer idea to come out of this game. All right, let's talk about the RuneScape. Okay, the RuneScape is specifically to understand the RuneScape. It is a ravaged land which surrounds the Eye of Elehentar. So Elehentar is the world where the gods used to live. It falls to the world, smashes on the world, and creates the site of its own impact, the Eye of Elehentar. That is now, right? What that is it is a storm of ravers. So like it's a swirling storm. And ravers come out of it. Ravers are pretty much demons. Okay, that's the best way to understand them. They're creatures that were born out of the skin of slain gods. They're created from the skin of slain gods. When gods die now, ravers can be created. Okay, and the Eye of Elehentar is at the center of the RuneScape. So the RuneScape is literally the land that surrounds the Eye of Elehentar. Okay. Now, there's some really cool stuff in the RuneScape. The first one is Salvage Guild. So underneath the RuneScape is the deeps. Now, the deeps are previous ages which are kept in like layers underneath the RuneScape, right? But they're kind of like frozen in time. And so the salvage guilds are people who delve down into the deeps and pull out items from previous ages and bring them back up. Really, really interesting, right? It's really a new dungeon. It's a new way of looking at a dungeon. Really quite interesting. It's one of the, again, it's one of the cooler things in Gods of the Fall. I thought it was really, really well crafted. Very, very interesting idea from the mind of Bruce R. Cordell. Now, those Savage Guilds, how do they live in the deep? How do they live in RuneScape and then delve into the deep? Well, they have keeps, and these keeps are called, they have keeps within the RuneScape, and these keeps are called holdfasts, right? Brilliant. Really, really well constructed. By the way, the previous name of the RuneScape was Kabazel, okay? So that is the RuneScape. That's the whole of the RuneScape. The coolest thing there is these salvage guilds. Really, really awesome concept. Love it, right? So that's the RuneScape. Let's talk about Soul Rest, okay? Soul Rest is really not... Okay, so the RuneScape and the Nightland, they're like on the land, right? But Soul Rest is different. It was previously Hell, right? So essentially, Soul Rest is a spiritual realm in ether where spirits go after they die in the afterworld, okay? The old gods that used to oversee the Soul Rest, or Hell, were Samiel, Hakali, and Eteneronol, right? And also, just to be clear, like Soul Rest, its natives are considered ravers and demons, right? Those are considered to be the natives of the Soul Rest, right? So that storm that is kind of where all those ravers are coming out of the eye of Elementar, they're really coming from Soul Rest, okay? Kind of interesting. So in Soul Rest is Impuza, right? You have Impuza, which these are again more natives of Soul Rest, and then they are essentially demons. But these Impuza are they embody hunger, and then rage they embody, and then the Irenyes they are natives of Soul Rest that represent rage, right? So basically, I think that is my that covers all of the thing. And what's my take on Soul Rest itself? It's a little direct from Hell. Like it's a little saying, this is Hell, or it represents Hell, which I don't think I think it was a little too direct. It should have been a little more unique. There should have been new different elements mixed in overall. But overall, the idea of the Afterworld and the idea of Nightland, RuneScape, and Soul Rest, those are all really fascinating. One thing I would say about my review overall of the world of Afterworld, the setting of Gods of the Fall, is my biggest thing is this is an absolutely brilliant fantasy setting, right? But that's not the goal of the game. The game was to allow players to play gods, right? And I really think the correct structure for that would be to have one player who plays a god, and then he would essentially, or she would have disciples or satellite characters, right? Having multiple gods as player characters really, in my opinion, devalues the idea of a god, right? And so I really struggled overall with the world of Gods of the Fall, right? I really felt, and in many ways, I could be wrong about this, but as I read it, I really got the idea that the problem with this game was the person who was making this game about Gods of the Fall does not really believe in gods. This is a game about gods from somebody who doesn't believe there are any gods. That's how it read to me. What people believe about God is very personal until you make a game called Gods of the Fall, and then what you believe about gods becomes really public because you're kind of pouring yourself into that game. And so this is my commentary on what I think how he came about this. Right? Here's how, and so to defend what I'm saying, here is how Bruce R. Cordell actually defines gods within the game. A god is an entity with the ability to change the world by accessing magic at a divine level. Well, you know what that describes? Every single Dungeons & Dragons cleric. There you go, right? I would define a god as an entity who created the world, controls the world, and can transform or destroy the world. When you take that second definition, you got a whole different structure for how you're gonna construct a game about player characters playing a god, right? That's a completely different approach. So I did struggle with that. I think at the end of the day, also, every single person, when you deal with the subject of God, every single person, it's the same question. Who is God? Is God God or is woman God, right? So, and essentially, I think at the end of the day, Bruce R. Cordell thinks that woman is God. Done. Whereas I think God is God. So I do struggle with this game, right? I'm not sure if, it really can't vie for any of my top, favorite slots, because I think it's just fundamentally unsound. I think this is a game about gods and about player characters playing gods created by somebody who doesn't believe in gods. And I think it's just so clear after you get done reading it that this is a super dope, super hype fantasy world that really has not even come close to meeting the goal that the title of the game demands. That's just my take, right? Overall, there were many things I really loved within the world. I really love those salvage guilds. I love the Nightlands. I loved all of the world itself. As a fantasy world, it's really, really fantastic. Some other things I really love about the setting overall. I love that Gods of the Fall is an expansion of Cypher itself. It is an expansion of Monty Cook Games. It is an expansion of the myth and legend of Monty Cook himself. Some things I really disliked. This game had some serious analogies to drugs. There were 3 different drugs in the game. Wadner oil, Trella juice, and dream dust. And I did not like seeing how the drugs were really, I thought, really kind of held up as as beneficial substances, which I don't think they are generally. Especially not used in the way they're talking about in the game. These were not medicines, these were drugs, right? So, I think, and again, I think at the end, another thing I really loved about this game is I cannot tell you what a good job they did crafting this game. It is amazing when it comes to, this game had a bestiary in it, so Gods of the Fall has a bestiary in it, it has a table of content, it has an index, it has a glossary, it has an adventure called Rites of Spring. That is tremendous. It's so good, right? It's just really solid content. Made by a professional company, and you can tell it. The game just screams professionality, being a professional product. That is my take on the world setting of Gods of the Fall. Thank you very much, and please consider liking and subscribing.